She stood there, heart pounding, as the white bank teller ripped her check into pieces right in her face. Asterisk, no ID, no money. The teller snapped. Asterisk, but just seconds later, the same woman's son lit up the bank's giant digital screen. Asterisk, meet our newest partner, CEO Jamal Carter. Asterisk, the silence in that bank. Deafening. Asterisk, Mrs. Carter walked into the bank on a quiet Monday morning, holding a neatly folded check in her hand. The sun was shining, but the air carried that sharp chill of early spring. She wore a simple blue dress and soft black shoes, the kind made more for comfort than style. Her purse, old but clean, hung gently from her shoulder. Inside, it was a letter from her son, and with it, the check he had sent her a generous $5,000 gift. Jamal, her only child, had made it big in the tech world and had never forgotten how hard she worked raising him alone. He told her it was just a small thank you. She stood in line with quiet patience, smiling politely at the people ahead of her. As she waited, she looked around the bank. Everything seemed modern and shiny: big glass windows, polished floors, and digital screens displaying smiling faces and friendly banking messages. She felt slightly out of place, but proud. When it was finally her turn, she stepped forward and handed over the check to the teller. A young man in a crisp white shirt with a badge that read, Zach. She spoke clearly and warmly, explaining that she wanted to deposit the money into her savings account. The teller looked at the check, then back at her, and his expression changed. His polite smile disappeared. She noticed, but didn't say anything. Maybe it was just a long day. After all, she had been taught to be patient, humble, and respectful even when others weren't. But deep inside, something told her this wasn't going to be a normal visit. She held her breath as Zach looked at her ID, scanned it, and then frowned. Her fingers tightened slightly on the counter. Unaware of the storm about to come, Zach stared at the computer screen with a slight frown, then glanced back at Mrs. Carter. Your name doesn't seem to be on this account, he said flatly, his tone suddenly colder than before. Mrs. Carter leaned in gently, a little confused. It's not my account, dear. My son Jamal sent me this check. He banks here. She smiled, trying to keep things polite. Zach didn't smile back. If you're not on the account, and this isn't your checkbook, I can't help you. Do you have any other ID? She calmly pulled out her driver's license and placed it on the counter. He barely looked at it before shaking his head. This doesn't prove anything, he muttered, then lifted the check to eye level, inspecting it like it was fake. Mrs. Carter's hands were now folded tightly in front of her, but she still tried to keep her voice steady. My son mailed it to me from his office in New York. You can call the number on the envelope if, before she could finish, Zach interrupted. Ma'am, anyone could make a fake check. People try it all the time. Then, with no warning, he ripped the check in half right, there in front of her. The sound of paper tearing seemed louder than anything in the room. People nearby turned their heads. A woman behind Mrs. Carter gasped. Her eyes widened with shock, her lips trembling as she stared at the shredded pieces of her son's gift, lying on the counter like trash. She didn't speak, not because she had nothing to say, but because she was raised to stay calm, even when being disrespected. But inside her heart, something cracked. This wasn't just about a check anymore. It was about dignity. And someone had just stepped on it like it meant nothing. For a few long seconds, Mrs. Carter stood frozen in place. The pieces of the check still lay scattered across the counter like broken trust. Her hands trembled slightly, not from anger, but from disbelief. Before she could gather her words, something on the far wall caught her eye. A large digital screen behind the teller desk flickered to life, switching from the bank's usual promotions to a new video ad. At first, no one paid attention. But Mrs. Carter's eyes locked on the screen, and her heart skipped a beat. There he was, her son, Jamal, dressed in a navy blue suit, walking confidently through a glass office, shaking hands, smiling. The video cut to a bold title, "Meet our newest partner, Jamal Carter, CEO of Carter Tech Solutions." A voiceover echoed across the lobby. At Millennium Bank, we stand behind innovation, diversity, and community leadership. That's why we're proud to partner with Jamal Carter, a man who's redefining the future. Heads turned. Customers looked up. Few bank employees even paused what they were doing. Everyone now stared at the screen. Zach slowly turned around and looked up as well. His face drained of color. The name, the face, the confidence, the realization hit him hard. He slowly turned back toward the elderly woman he had just insulted. "That's your son?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Carter didn't answer right away. She simply looked at him, calm but steady, the pain in her eyes replaced by quiet strength. Then she nodded. Just once. The silence in the room grew heavier. Zach stepped back from the counter, unsure of what to do or say next. And for the first time since she walked in, Mrs. Carter felt the power shift not from anger, but from truth. The moment hung heavy in the air. The video on the screen continued, now showing clips of Jamal giving a speech at a tech conference, receiving an award, and volunteering at a community center. The same calm voice echoed, "We believe in leaders who inspire change." Mrs. Carter stood quietly, her hands now resting gently on her purse, while the rest of the bank absorbed the shocking truth. Zach, still standing behind the counter, looked like he wanted to disappear. The manager, a middle-aged woman in a dark blazer, rushed over, alarmed by the sudden silence and the attention gathering around the screen. "What's going on here?" she asked sharply. One of the tellers pointed at the screen, then at Mrs. Carter. "That's her son," he whispered. The manager turned toward Mrs. Carter with wide eyes. "You're Jamal Carter's mother?" she asked, her tone immediately softening. Mrs. Carter gave a small nod. "Yes, I raised him on my own. I taught him to work hard, speak kindly, and never forget where he came from." The manager blinked, then looked at Zach, who now looked pale and speechless. "Did you really tear up her check?" The teller didn't respond. His silence was the only answer needed. The manager sighed, clearly embarrassed, and turned back to Mrs. Carter. "Please, come with me to my office. We'll fix everything." But Mrs. Carter didn't move. She looked Zach in the eyes and said, "I didn't come here for special treatment. I just came here to be treated like anyone else." The people in the lobby were now watching not just a viral screen, but a living example of quiet dignity. In that moment, it became painfully clear. Respect shouldn't depend on titles, clothes, or status. It should be the starting point for everyone. The branch manager led Mrs. Carter gently into her office, offering her a seat and an apology that felt rushed and full of nervous energy. She ordered a replacement cashier's check to be issued immediately and offered complimentary services, even a personal banker to assist her in the future. But Mrs. Carter sat quietly, listening with grace, not demanding anything more than the dignity she should have received from the start. When the new check was handed to her, she smiled softly and said, "Thank you," without sarcasm or bitterness. She didn't gloat, didn't mention her son's title, and never once asked anyone to treat her differently. As she stood to leave, she glanced one last time at the large screen outside, still showing her son's proud image. In the lobby, Zach stood with his head down, clearly shaken. Mrs. Carter paused in front of him. He looked up slowly, his face filled with regret. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice cracking. She looked at him with calm eyes and replied, "I hope you remember today, not because of who my son is, but because of how you treated someone who couldn't fight back." With that, she turned and walked out, her posture tall, her steps slow but steady. People in the bank watched her go, and in their eyes was a mix of shame, respect, and quiet admiration. Outside, the wind had picked up, but the sun still shined. Mrs. Carter held the new check gently, not because of its value, but because of what it now meant. It was no longer just a gift from her son. It was a reminder of her strength, her worth, and the quiet power of grace. And as she walked away from the glass doors, she left behind more than a lesson. She left behind change, asterisk, if this story moved. You don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Asterisk, subscribe to Black Stories for more powerful and inspiring stories that deserve to be heard.